My wife had me adopt her son, then divorced me and demanded child support. You signed the papers, deal with it, she said. 2 years later, the court uncovered her lie. The biological father was never unknown. Hello Reddit I+ here. Let me take you back to where it all began, because to understand the mess I'm finally digging my way out of, you need to see how deep the betrayal ran. My name is Ethan Cole, and I'm 38 now. 4 years ago, I married a woman named Natalie, who was 32 at the time. She had a 5-year-old son named Jaden, from what she described as a short-lived relationship with a man who vanished the moment he found out she was pregnant. According to her, his name wasn't even on the birth certificate. No contact, no support. Just another deadbeat who disappeared into the wind. I believed her. We dated for 2 years before getting married, and during that time, Jaden and I got close. I read to him at night, took him fishing, helped him build his first Lego castle, and when Natalie told me, with tears in her eyes, how grateful she was that Jaden finally had a real father, I felt proud, like I was doing something that mattered. So, 6 months into the marriage I offered to adopt him. She was thrilled, said I was a better man than she ever expected to find. The adoption process took over a year. Background checks, psychological evaluations, and a legal requirement to post newspaper notices in case some unknown biological father decided to come forward. Of course, no one ever did. Natalie swore under oath that she didn't know who the father was. The court believed her. So did I. After the adoption was finalized, Jaden took my last name. I added him to my health insurance. Started a college savings account. I was his dad in every way that counted. And for a while, life was good. Until it wasn't. About 1.5 years into our marriage, Natalie changed. She became distant, defensive, obsessed with her phone. She started staying out late and picking fights over nonsense. Like me, forgetting to put the cap back on the toothpaste or leaving lights on. The usual signs. But I didn't see them for what they were. Then, out of nowhere, she served me divorce papers. Said we'd grown apart, that she needed to find herself. 2 weeks later, just 2 weeks, I got a notice in the mail. Natalie had filed for child support. Let that sink in. She left me. I had adopted her son in good faith, and now she wanted me to pay child support for a child that wasn't biologically mine, and whom she was also trying to limit my visitation with. When I confronted her, she didn't even flinch. You signed the papers, she said. You're his legal father now. Deal with it. I'll never forget the smirk on her face. That's when I knew. She'd planned this. Maybe not from day one, but certainly before the ink was dry on those adoption papers. But things didn't really click until she said one particular line during a heated argument over custody. He's not even your real son and you know it. Wait, what? If Jaden's father was truly unknown, why say something like that? That comment haunted me. So, I talked to my attorney, Lauren Tate, and she recommended hiring a private investigator. Enter Greg Rivas, an ex-detective with a knack for digging up buried secrets. Greg spent months combing through Natalie's financial records, old emails, and social media activity. He found something strange. Natalie had been receiving quiet, consistent money transfers from 2 men, Derek Fields and Marcus Lynn. Not huge amounts, $300 here, $500 there, but regular enough to raise questions. And here's the kicker. Derek's payments started right after Jaden was born, and they continued even after I married her. Greg managed to track down Derek Fields, a 40-year-old electrician who lived just an hour away. After some back and forth, Derek agreed to meet. When Greg told him the situation, Derek looked stunned. She married someone who adopted Jaden? He asked. I didn't even know that was happening. I've been sending her money since Jaden was born. I always assumed he was mine. But she shut me out. Turns out Derek and Natalie had dated for about a year. She broke up with him right around the time she found out she was pregnant. When he offered to be involved, she refused. Said she didn't want him interfering, but she never mentioned adoption. She always told me I could be involved in Jaden's life someday. Just not yet, he said. Now I find out I might have lost him for good? Greg asked Derek if he'd take a paternity test. He didn't hesitate. Of course. I've waited too long to find out. The legal process, though? That was another beast. Because I was Jaden's legal father, Derek had no standing. We had to file a motion with the court alleging fraud during the adoption proceedings. That meant proving Natalie knowingly concealed the identity of Jaden's biological father from the court. A serious offense. Greg kept digging. He managed to recover old text messages between Natalie and Derek from a mutual friend's cloud backup, and what they revealed was damning. Not only had she been in contact with Derek during our marriage, but she'd also been sending him pictures of Jaden, giving him updates about school and sports, and even arranging secret visits while I was out of town for work. She had lied to both of us. To the court, to me, to Derek, and worst of all, to Jaden. We presented all this to the judge, along with Derek's request for a paternity test and motion to establish his parental rights. The court appointed a guardian ad litem for Jayden, someone impartial to determine what was best for him. The results of the DNA test? 99.98% match. Derek was Jayden's biological father. Natalie had known all along. The court agreed to void the adoption on grounds of fraud, and I was released from all child support obligations. Derek was granted shared custody, and Jayden, confused but resilient, slowly began to adjust to the truth. And Natalie? Well, the family court handed down its ruling, but there's still the matter of perjury pending in criminal court. As for me, I've learned the hardest lesson of all. Being a good man doesn't protect you from being used, but it does mean, eventually, you'll walk away with your integrity intact, while the ones who tried to play you end up answering for what they've done. After the DNA results came back and the court declared the adoption null due to fraud, things moved fast, but not without resistance. Natalie, ever the manipulator, tried to spin the narrative. She showed up in court in tears, claiming she did what she thought was best for Jayden and that she wasn't trying to hurt anyone. She said Derek had been unstable back then and that she feared he'd abandon Jayden if given the chance. That's why, according to her, she never told the court about him. But the judge wasn't buying it, especially not after reviewing the dozens of messages, emails, and bank transfers showing years of ongoing communication with Derek, communication she never disclosed during the adoption. The court noted that she'd gone to extreme lengths to mislead everyone involved, me, Derek, and the legal system. The judge didn't just reverse the adoption and release me from child support. She reprimanded Natalie on record, calling her behavior deliberately deceptive and an abuse of the court's trust. Meanwhile, Derek was stepping up. He filed a motion for shared custody and began taking co-parenting classes, attending therapy, and building a relationship with Jayden under supervision. I watched him sit with Jayden in a courthouse hallway once, nervous, fidgeting, unsure of what to say. But when Jayden smiled and showed him a drawing he made at school, I knew Derek was sincere. It stung. I'd been dad for 3 years. I'd read him bedtime stories, stayed up during his ear infections, and walked him into kindergarten, but none of that changed the legal reality, or the biological truth. The court-appointed therapist explained that Jayden needed time to adjust. He was hurt, confused, and dealing with a lot of emotions, especially about me stepping back. When we had our last supervised visit, Jayden looked at me and asked, "So you're not my dad anymore?" I'll never forget that. I took a breath, held his hand, and said, "No matter what the court says, I'll always care about you. And I hope you grow up strong, smart, and happy. That's all I ever wanted." He hugged me. And that was the last time I saw him. I sold the house Natalie and I used to share and moved out of state. Started over. It wasn't easy. Legally, emotionally, financially. I drained savings on legal fees. My reputation took a hit for a while when Natalie tried to paint me as an angry ex, refusing to pay child support. But the court documents, sealed at first, eventually became accessible through the criminal proceedings. Because yes, perjury charges were filed. Natalie was formally charged with providing false testimony under oath, fraudulent adoption, and attempted child support under false pretenses. Her sentence? 2 years probation, mandatory parenting and ethics classes, and a hefty fine she couldn't afford to pay. She tried to contact me a few months later, sent an email. "I made mistakes, but Jayden needs stability. Maybe we can talk. He misses you." I didn't respond. Because by then, I'd learned that closure doesn't come from people who hurt you. It comes from walking away knowing you finally see them for who they really are. 1 year later, I heard from Greg, the PI, just recently. Derek has full joint custody now. He's doing well. He even started a blog about unexpected fatherhood and navigating co-parenting with someone like Natalie. Turns out we both dodged a longer bullet. As for me, I'm rebuilding, quietly. I've learned that love is not blind. It's just trusting. And trust, once broken like this, takes time to heal. But I'm getting there.